Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I'm the food enthusiast here at JVNLA Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live on Facebook, drop your comments and questions for my guest or myself into the comment box, and you'll see me check, sort of turn my head from time to time. So don't be afraid, join in, and definitely comment or leave a question. Recently touted by Cherry Bomb's 2026 Power List, Sally Ekus, senior literary agent at the Ekus Group, a division of JVNLA, is a standout in the industry. Why so? She grew up in the food publicity business. Her mother, Lisa Ekus, specializing in culinary book PR, and her late father, Lou Ekus, was a highly sought after media trainer. He worked with Emerald, Padma. I believe I remember Stephen Racklin saying that he worked with him, Bobby Flay. Not only did Sally grow up in the business, she is rocking it now for 17 years, brokering over 300 book deals. She represents a dynamic roster of talent from first time to long time established authors, including chefs, restaurant owners, professional food writers, digital creators, journalists, and more. She shares her knowledge in her Substack, Not So Secret Agent. She is bright, informed, and if you're thinking about a cookbook or a lifestyle book, she is the agent you want. Let's bring in Sally.
Well, thanks, Dara. It's so nice to be here and have this conversation today.
Well, it's great to see you again. I think maybe the last time, I can't remember, it was IACP conference. You did a talk, and I did your panel, watched your panel, and I think it might have been Minneapolis, that or Chicago. I can't quite
Maybe
remember.
Chicago. I don't know that I've ever been to Minneapolis because I have now a bunch of clients there, and it's been on my like top three have to visit in the next year list because I have a bunch of food clients there now.
Well, Sally, I am a fan. The Ekus name is legendary in the culinary world, and I am thrilled to have the opportunity to chat with you
Thank
here.
you.
I feel like I watched you grow up
You
because,
did, yeah.
I knew your mother when I was at Van Spices and through IACP.
hmm
Um, other than doing the show today, what else is on your plate to do?
You mean in my life today?
Yeah, whatever. It's just,
Well, I have what's on my plate today. I'm gonna grill tonight. I'm excited to do some grilling and I have some proposals to read. I've got a pitch to queue up to go out. What did I do this morning? Oh, I had a call with some people that I've been sort of dancing around. What is that idea? For a little while. So it was nice to reconnect with them. And I try to go out for a walk every single day. So that's also on the docket.
yeah, I got out for about 20 minutes with
Hey,
the
that
2000.
Yep, whatever we can get counts.
Right, right. Um, what are your recollections of your family table? I know your mother, wasn't she in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the
The
most
largest,
cookbooks?
yeah, the
Well,
largest personal collection of cookbooks. She still holds that record. They are housed in the house that I grew up in a library that she built for her books. It's a two-story culinary library. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's all made of cherry wood, which mimics our dinner table. At my mom's house, there is a massive long wooden cherry dinner table that actually has many leaves that aren't even in it. So like it's like static setup is probably easily seating 16, and then with the other additional leaves like for really big Passover dinners or gatherings, it can, we squeeze 23, 26 people around that table. It's big and beautiful. And one side of the table is right by the door when you walk in, so that collects all of our things over the course of the day. And then the other side is always set up for family dinner. But then when we have, guests, the whole table is set, and it's quite a sight to be seen.
well, that really is telling me about the family table.
Definitely, yeah, yep. It's in the center of everything, and though it is like really stunning and beautiful, it is also very used and worn.
Now, when your mother started the cookbook PR firm
Hmm.
back in 82,
Yeah.
why did she choose cookbooks? It was a very narrow focus. Did she ever explain to you why, or was it her love of cooking and she just,
So when she started in publishing, she worked at Crown briefly out of New York, and she was working as more of a generalist. She has some amazing stories of like carting Kurt Vonnegut to get on a publicity bus one party or something. But then when she moved to Western Massachusetts with my dad, when they were married at the time, he got a job out here. They moved out here, and she didn't want to stop working in publishing. So she basically set up remote working before fax machines, and very quickly just nestled into a culinary focus. I think it was an intersection of her interests and the marketplace. She really identified a need and was the one of the first hyper specialized publicists in that space. And she, through her relationships with publishers, was contacted frequently to set up publicity tours. And, I think it was just like finding that niche and following a passion.
well, I think I listened to some other broadcasts or podcasts that you've done, and one of the things that was brought up, the budget. Let's talk
Yeah.
about advances. There's a whole long story to getting a book published, but somewhere there is advances supposed to cover certain expenses.
Hmm.
What publishers are doing now versus what they're doing, what they did even 20 years ago or 15 years ago. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, so in the early days of the agency, it was a public relations firm. So we did PR campaigns before we were ever agenting. So now my work as a literary agent is working with authors to represent them and their book projects to publishers and negotiating a book deal. And the book deal includes an advance, which a publisher is paying the rights to acquire. They're paying a fee to acquire the rights to publish your book. And advances are paid out in portions depending on the size of the advance of the publisher. So that's the work that I do now, and that was an evolution of the agency. But it's in its early iterations when it was a PR firm, the agency was hired to handle publicity campaigns for authors. So someone else was representing the author. And, back in what I call like the good old days of publishing, the budgets for some of those publicity campaigns were really robust. I mean, now I think we'd be lucky for most publishers to even say what they're going to invest in publicity, let alone have it be sort of a given that publishers are investing in a tour for everyone. And so the PR side of things really evolved out of that. And publishers were hiring the Lisa Ekus Public Relations Group to coordinate book tours for authors. So we were working with a bunch of authors and a bunch of different publishers. Then the agency evolved to do literary representation because Lisa had been working with the authors, and they said, thanks for doing the media training, teaching me how to cook and talk in television. Thanks for booking all these cities for me to go and promote the book to. I have a new idea. Will you represent me to the publisher? And that's how the agenting kind of evolved. And so then Lisa was agenting. I joined the agency 17 years ago. Lisa now has retired 3 years ago, and I merged the agency, the Ekus Group, with an agency out of New York called JVNLA, the Jean V. Nagar Literary Agency. And we've always had this long-standing symmetry and sort of sisterhood with JVNLA. Jennifer Welts, who is Jean's daughter, Jean, the founder of the agency, um, her and Lisa sort of had careers that somewhat mirrored each other. And JVNLA hadn't really worked in the cookbook space much. And so when I was thinking about what was next for the agency, that's where it evolved to. That was a very long-winded answer to a question that started around advances, but I wanted to give a little historical knowledge
Well,
because when we think about advances, we were talking about book deals, which is the work I do today, but the budgets for PR was, back in the days and early iteration of the original agency.
right. Well, it's how the publishers look at it nowadays
Yeah.
versus what the market was like 20 years ago.
Yeah. There was
And
also, I mean, it was a completely different culinary media landscape in that you could hire a publicity firm and they'd be pitching all sorts of television markets and all sorts of radio. And now we've got podcasts, but less television. There's just a lot of different types of media.
Right. Um, there are in listening, there are so many ways to publish. There's so many publisher options.
Hmm.
There's what you call the five top. There's university press. There are independents. And I'm going to ask you to address that because we were talking before we went on air. Let's talk about uh, what are the top five? What's the difference between the university presses? I see those, or state presses,
Hmm.
um, and independents. Can you talk a bit about the publishers and
Yeah, so what we call the big five, which are I kind of think of it as like an umbrella. There's the umbrella is like the five big publishing companies, and then the raindrops are little imprints under each of those main publishers. So that's Hachette, HarperCollins, Simon and Schuster, Penguin Random House, which is the largest publisher in the world, and Macmillan. Those are the big five. Then there's also independent publishers. Like on my newsletter, I recently did an interview with the publisher of Agate, which is an independent publisher out of the Chicago area. There's independent publishers, which are not affiliated with the big five. And then there's university presses. So in different regional areas, there's university presses, and those are operating often on a peer-reviewed model, which is different than traditional publishing with the big five. You're not having your manuscript sent out for peer review. So there's a bunch of different avenues to traditional publishing. And, when I'm exploring different opportunities for my clients and pitching proposals, I am exploring all of those. I mean, there are some agents that exclusively sell to the big five. There's agents that sort of start their career maybe with independent publishers or smaller publishers and work their way up. And because we've always been a really boutique and bespoke agency, we've always cast a pretty wide net and worked with the big five and a bunch of indies.
right? And tell people a bit about, are there standard questions that you get? Are there top, what are the top 3 or 4 or 5 questions when people learn that you're a literary agent? What do they ask, or what do they want you to know? Are they saying, oh, I have a cookbook in me, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. They are often asking how important is platform? Like, do I really need a big platform? And in fiction, there's it's a whole other world and genre. But in nonfiction, where I specialize, platform is really important. And so in a book proposal, you're going to outline what your platform is and why you're the right person to write the book. And yes, platform is important. And yes, in a lot of ways, it is partially defined by a community that you might have built online. But it's a lot more than that. It's really your network of connections and community. And so they ask me, how important is platform? And in nonfiction, I say very important. How do I know when I'm ready to start working on a book? That's often a common question. And I will usually answer that with start with the proposal and specifically the comp section of the proposal. Go and do some research. What's out there? What's been written about in the topic that you want to write about? And how is what you have to say new and different? And if it's not yet, okay, keep developing it. If it is, and you're like, wow, what's out there is great, but I have so much more I want to add, that can often be a good indicator. And then people will also ask, like, just where should I begin? Like, how do I, what do I do? Where do I begin this whole process? And I got that question so much that I started a whole newsletter. And I
Yeah,
even have a post called Where to Begin because that is a question I get quite frequently. And so it's less to me about like, this is the one place everyone should begin, but really for many people, not everyone, they want to learn like how does book publishing work? And it's not so hard to find that information now. Over the past 5, 10 years, there's been a lot of people sharing information about
right,
publishing. And because I'm a hyper specialized agent, I wanted to add to that conversation. And so that's what inspired me to start the Not So Secret Agent newsletter.
right. Because you are specialized, you can do more personal uh, connection with
Yeah.
inquiries.
Yes.
Big publishers getting tons and tons of inquiries. And I think part of your goal is try to respond to everybody who reaches out to you.
Yeah, that's the goal. My colleagues who represent in many other genres might receive 5,000 queries, 8,000 queries a year, 12,000. And I'm more in the hundreds to 1,500 range, depending on, the year, but it's because I'm so specialized. And I branch out. I do represent beyond cookbooks. But for the most part, cookbooks are my jam.
Yeah. And I think for the average person, or somebody who's approaching it new, and they might be hot at the moment on Instagram, but this book isn't going to hit the shelves for close to 3 years.
Right, right.
And it's a whole process. I think proposals can take up to a year.
Yep. Yeah, I think it really depends. The timeline in traditional publishing, generally speaking, goes like this. If your proposal was ready today and I signed you tomorrow and we sold it on Monday, you would have about a year to deliver the manuscript, which is with fully tested recipes, all the head notes, all the front matter, all the photography, and then it would go in another year of production. That's editing, copy editing, the layout, design, and then printing and distribution, and most cookbooks are printed overseas, and it's about a 3-month process to print them and distribute them. So, you're really looking at 2 years if it was sold tomorrow, and usually proposals take anywhere from a few months to a year to put together. And people are always like, how long should my proposal be? And I say, well, how long does it need to be? If you can say it in 30 pages, that's great. But if you have a really robust idea and platform, meaning, you have this whole community that you want to explain are hungry for the book, sometimes that in and of itself is 15 pages long because you're just listing everyone you know and everyone that is going to help you support the book and all the special sales accounts that you've been doing events at. That's often 10, 15 pages of a proposal right there. So usually proposals are somewhere more like 50 to 80 pages, but they've been less and they've been more. It all depends.
And a lot of times people write a sample chapter.
Yes, you would
And
have a sample chapter with sample recipes or sample writing as just like a sampling of different chapters that you're showing the agent that you're pitching.
right.
Yeah.
You have represented a number, a number of cookbook authors like Tony Tipton Martin. I know it started with your mother,
Yeah.
and Tony actually lived in Baltimore for a little bit,
Yes. Yep.
but she has moved on.
Hmm.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
Sandra
So
Gutierrez.
fun fact. Did you say Sandra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Sandra. Um, Fun fact about Tony, when she received the Lifetime Achievement Award from Beard, now 2 years ago, in addition to her husband, I got to be her plus one, and that was like a lifetime moment for me. I can't believe that. It
Well,
was me and her husband.
you had never been to the
I
Beard
had
Awards.
I had been to the book awards, but not they do the Lifetime Achievement at the Chef Awards, and so being there was really spectacular and quite special.
Well, one day, well, they moved it to Chicago. I
Hmm.
remember it was always in New York.
Yeah.
And now I think they're contemplating maybe moving it elsewhere
Yeah,
or
yeah. I think
changing.
the contract is ending, so they have an open bid. But personally, it's been really fun to be in Chicago. In my other life, I do improv comedy, so I try to catch some improv shows when I'm in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a little secret I didn't know.
I've shared it a little bit here and there, but yeah, I'm on a main stage cast at a theater here in Western Massachusetts. It's called Happier Valley Comedy. I'm also on the board, and improv has gifted me everything wonderful in my life, and so whenever I travel, particularly to Chicago, I try to like sneak to a show when I can. Luckily, there's late night shows in Chicago because Beard Weekend is quite busy.
Yeah. We talk proposals.
Hmm.
I want to reiterate or tell people to learn more and get on to the mailing list. It is not so secret agent.substack.com. the website is ekusgroup.com, and that links you to JVNLA and a
Yeah, you
lot
can just
more.
go to jvnla.com. That'll take you everywhere you need to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's so much that I want to talk to you
Yeah,
about.
I see your wheels turning. I can't wait to hear what's next.
Um, okay, let's talk about these fall offerings that are coming
Okay.
up. The people,
I got to move a
because
little so you can see some of my fall books that I got advanced copies for
I
here.
have to put on my readers to see because I'm just looking at this on the phone. Yeah.
We've got The
Okay.
Kitchen Quadrant, Martin Sorge's Great Bakes book that just came out. Just this morning, I opened up Good Spirits from Tiffany Barrier. That's coming out at the end of September. Totally Outrageous comes out next week. Small Batch Breads came out on Tuesday. It's very busy, very busy.
Right. And opera.
Opera, yes. Hold on, I can get it. It's right here. Okay. I
Hurry up,
haven't
hurry
even
up.
like organized my shelf completely yet. Yeah, so fun. This
Oh,
has like a
I have to tell you on your site when I clicked on opera, it took me to Good Spirits.
oh, good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will make that correction. No
Because
matter
I
what,
was,
you're ending with a good drink. So
yeah. So, I mean, but these, a lot of these seem, they're specialized. Think
yes,
about it.
hyper specialized.
Right. Small batch breads.
Hmm.
And Rebecca Eisenberg was like a food blogger, recipe developer, food photographer.
Yeah.
Then totally nacho-rageous.
Outrageous. Yep.
It's Alex Taylor, who's been in the hospitality industry for a long, long time. And his focus is on nachos.
Yes. Yeah.
He's the nacho king.
He is actually the Nacho King of Connecticut, which is not a title I knew existed until I met Alex. And it includes the crown. He's great. And just yesterday, he invited me on Great Day Connecticut, which is his local news station where he got one of his first big media breaks. And he invited me on to do like a segment with his agent. So we got to do that yesterday, which was really fun.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And now that's Harvard Common Press.
Yep.
Small batch breads was Penguin.
Yep. Penn State.
Um, all right. So a guide to kitchen quadrant. Now this is not Chelsea's first book.
This is her second. Yeah. This is her second traditionally published book. She's also self-published some books on sous vide cooking. This is like fan cookbook fiction. So it's based off of it's inspired by the Fourth Wing series and it's a whole fantasy world of food based off of the Rebecca Yarros books.
Oh, that's Simon and Schuster. Good Spirits is
Voracious.
voracious.
Yep.
And Tiffany is a known mixologist,
Yeah.
very, very famous.
They call her
So
the bartender's bartender, which I just love.
that's great. And just looking here, I mean, the terminology that I heard when you were speaking to the guy at Crown, was it Crown in your podcast?
Oh, on the Taste podcast? Yeah.
Yeah. So you both knew the terminology, and I'm sitting there going, I'm not sure what that
Oh,
means.
which one? Yeah. What terminology?
Well, I sort of know what pass would mean. Um, there was just different things, and I was guessing because you were both in the industry,
Yeah.
you were speaking industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to get back to this. Are there pitfalls to self-publishing?
Um, I mean, there's pitfalls to anything in life, I think. I really try to get curious about what somebody's goals are and then help them determine whether or not, self-publishing or traditionally publishing is the path for somebody. I think in self-publishing, there's more opportunity to be um, kind of lost in the math shuffle, although one could argue that that is also true in traditional publishing. I think some of
Right,
the pitfalls are potentially the same, but it also can be a huge out-of-pocket cost. And that's usually one of the biggest potential pitfalls is really to just go into any custom or self-publishing opportunity with a real clear understanding of what the financial model looks like, what you'd be paying
right.
for versus what the parties you're hiring are taking on their responsibilities. And then also potential pitfalls or distribution. In self-publishing, you're in charge of the distribution. So that might be a pallet of books in your garage, and maybe that's not necessarily what you were expecting. So it's really about getting clear on what your goals are.
Yeah, what's the you have to build it before they come type
Yeah, which I
thing.
would argue you kind of have to do in traditional publishing too, just so you have, an outlet for sharing your work, regardless of the path you take.
Right. Well, I know as things narrowed as to money for cookbook authors, because I was a media escort and I did do food styling when they came to DC
Okay,
or
well,
Baltimore.
that's an industry term. Do you want to explain what media escort is? Because I know what it means, but I wonder if everyone else that will listen to this knows what it means.
Okay, for those who don't know, when the money was big from the publishers, they would send the cookbook authors to different cities.
Yep.
So they come into train by train or plane or and they don't know the city. So you pick them up, you take them to whatever stations they're going to.
Yeah.
And if you were along with being a media escort, you were also the person doing the food styling because this person's coming on the train.
Right.
They don't have the food, they don't have the setup, they don't have the plates. So that was my part of being a food stylist.
Yeah.
I was not a food stylist for photography. I was a
Right.
food stylist for the immediate
Yeah.
moment.
I love it.
So, yeah, I did that. And of course, that went bye-bye, but I have great friends like Nick Maggieri and everybody
Hmm.
that I met and I hosted and took around,
That's so nice.
which is why I did the podcast
Yep.
between the International Association of Culinary Professionals,
Hmm.
which, if you're into cooking, writing books, food, photography, that is an organization to belong to. Am I
Absolutely.
missing another cookbooks, cooking
Um,
instructors?
yeah, cooking instructors, chefs, food writers, journalists. I mean, people who are interested in writing and food, whether they're the one doing it or, they're the one reading about it. I think it's an essential member organization to support. It's where Lisa got some of her early starts, early clients. It's an organization that I've, owe so much of my career to. Absolutely.
And it's a great organization. I'm just sorry I was very much, when I left Vans, it was ICP or Women Chef and Restaurateurs.
Hmm.
So I belonged to both for a year. And then I went, you know what? Women Chef and Restaurateurs, I'll be a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Mm.
And that worked out well. But I still, ICP people look at it, join it. It's
Well, there's
definitely
also a really wonderful learning library that they have with like previous speakers that members can go back and watch, and it's a real wonderful resource for people just starting out, or and actually going back to one of your questions about like what do people ask about. Usually if they're just getting into the industry, they're like, where do I begin? What should I, commit my dollars and my time to? And IACP is one of my go-to recommendations.
to network and get to
Yeah,
know the people and
absolutely.
learn from the experts, that's for sure. So, benefits being a literary agent. Obviously, you love to cook.
I do love to
Your
cook.
mother loves to cook.
Hmm.
Um, I'm looking. There's so much, and yet I'm sitting here going over this. Um, just checking the time. It's probably time to go to my questions. First, to remind everybody, not so secret agent.substack.com, JVNLA.com, or ekusgroup.com, and Sally Ekus. All this information is coming up in the comments section. So if you can't understand what I'm saying, it's there for your benefit. Okay. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Man, I love this question and I've been thinking about it so much. I'm curious, what would you say?
Don't turn it on me.
Okay.
I'm
Well, no,
at,
I will answer, but I'm just like, it really got me thinking about asking it to other people in my life because, yeah, I mean, at 18, I think I would say, like, it's not that big of a deal. And also, years and years and years ago, I don't remember if I was 18 or if it was like a few years later, but um, Lisa gave me like a note card that I still have. And there's a quote on it that says, "It is safe to look within." And that quote has meant a lot of different things to me at a lot of different points in my life. And that was the first thing that I thought of when I was thinking about this question. But because I mentioned improv comedy, I'll mention something that I also really wish I had told myself at 18, which is something that I have since learned through improv. It's a story of the maybe farmer. I don't know if you're familiar with this story, but it's
no.
really a story about life's moments not being defined as inherently like the worst thing ever or this is the best news ever. It's a series of maybe moments, and it's a really beautiful story that talks about a farmer and walks you through understanding that philosophy. And I'll send it to you so you can include it in the comments because whenever there's an opportunity to teach someone about the maybe farmer and the maybe moments in life. I wish I knew it at 18, and I now take advantage of the opportunity to share it with others.
That's great. Randy Prams says, how do you approach someone when thinking writing a cookbook?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I'll point them to the proposal guidelines that I have because that's a really good place to help you do a gut check of like, what's the idea? What do I have to say? What's out there on the market? When I approach people when I'm scouting, I will often end those conversations by sharing those guidelines and saying, I just said this to someone this morning, like, this is what you'd be getting yourself into if you want to go down this path. So read through these and check it out and see how it lands, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Randy is correcting me. I probably said Randy because I
Oh,
can't see too well far away. So it's Ranny Prams.
great.
I hope I've corrected it correctly, Ranny. All right. So you asked me about giving 18-year-old advice.
Yeah.
If I went back, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
There was no self-confidence at 18. What do you know? It
Yeah.
was like unsure, unsure.
Yep.
Okay, if
Feel
you could
that.
wake up tomorrow morning with a new talent, which I think I already know the answer.
Actually, I was gonna say singing or dancing because I'm really bad at both.
Okay.
I would really love to be able to sing and enjoy the sound of my own voice, and I'd also really love to be able to dance like nobody's watching because I still have a hard time with that.
Okay, but you don't dance as bad as Elaine on Seinfeld,
It's
do you?
close. It's
It's
close, Sarah.
close.
It's pretty close.
Since you like to cook, what was your ultimate culinary fail?
Okay. So I have been gluten-free for over 2 decades now, not by choice, or like many things have had led me to this path. And in college, shortly after I discovered that I needed to live a gluten-free lifestyle, I attempted to make chicken parmesan. I was craving it, and I don't know why that was the thing that I needed to make, but the breading on the chicken was like giving me trouble and I made a completely inedible dish. Like there was no part that was like, well, just put ketchup on, there was completely inedible.
Scrape that off. Yeah.
It was such a fail, but it was so I will never forget it because in that moment, and this was like college days where I did, to even invest in making chicken parm is like, well, I guess that's what you do when you grow up in a culinary family, but that's what I wanted. It was such a fail, no disposable income to like be spending on specialty gluten-free breadcrumbs, which 2 decades ago didn't even really exist. But it taught I remember so distinctly just in my core being like, well, I can't eat this. It's completely disgusting. It's totally inedible, but it's not a big deal. Like the worst thing that could happen in trying something new in the kitchen, but of course, as I matured, it became a philosophy for life, is like, okay, just start again and I can figure this out. And it really, that fail like unlocked cooking for me in a way that nothing else had really done.
Oh, that's interesting. I see, I probably would have scraped off the breading. I would have
It was
somehow
like
enough.
somehow beyond scrapable. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what magic I made happen with that fail, but it was a profound failure.
Okay. All right. What two things are a must in your refrigerator?
Mama Teeves hot garlic, which is a company I've been obsessed with for a few years now. It's called Mama Teeves. I'll send you the link to this so you can put it in the chat. Um, if you like chili crisp in your life, it's like the sister of chili crisp, but I always want to add heat and I always want to add garlic. And this is a um like really spicy, crispy condiment that I put on everything. I've been obsessed with it for years. I get it wholesale because I gift it to everybody. Like I am just the champion, like Mama Teeves all the way. Not a paid endorsement. I just love this. It is in my fridge and everyone I know's fridge. And then also hummus because I really like hummus.
That's fine.
Yeah.
What's the best bite you've had all week?
So speaking of being gluten-free, yesterday I was at in Connecticut, like I mentioned, on Great Day Connecticut with my client for Nottrageous, and afterwards, on the way home, I drove to this dumpling place that I had been wanting to try called Golden Dumplings, and they make gluten-free dumplings, which is a craving I have not been able to satisfy for years,
Really? Okay.
and they were so good. And the owner, they've only been open a year, and I was like trying to figure out like why are you making this? They have a huge gluten-free menu, and I was like, why do you have a gluten-free dumpling menu? This is not a common thing. And he was like, I can't eat gluten. I was like, I'm so glad. They were delicious, and I'll definitely be back.
So did they have some type of wrapper or was it just
Yeah,
the
oh, it was
center?
all the wrapper, and I also ate like buns that he made. They mix the dough and it's a combination of different gluten-free flours, and it was so pillowy and chewy and buoyant. Like it was all the things you want in a dumpling.
Maybe he should write a cookbook.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's the old
I have
PR
to do some
person.
research on the market for gluten-free dumpling book, but I'm if there's anyone that'll do that research, you're looking at her.
Okay, okay. All right. What didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
Um, Typically people don't ask me about things outside of my career, and so then I get to plug the improv that I do because that's a big part of my life. But I have a daughter who's going to be 7, and being a mom is a big part of my world as well. And so whenever I have an opportunity to celebrate Maybelline a little bit and give her a shout out, I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Just, I know that there was, because of a childhood sickness, you were even concerned if you would have a child. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah. On
fact,
Tuesday, this past Tuesday, I celebrated 38 years being cancer free. I had childhood leukemia. And this was like in the 80s, early 90s. We didn't know how chemo would affect our bodies. Obviously, there's still a lot of fertility connections to cancer treatment today. And so I really, yeah, every chance I have, I get to express my gratitude for being able to carry her, we didn't know if that was going to be in the cards.
well, I want to thank you so much, Sally.
Thank
It
you,
was
Dara.
great catching up,
Yeah,
as
you
I knew
too.
it would. You're
So
so
nice to see
charming,
you.
and so you're so confident and well spoken.
Thank
It's
you. My childhood video, like home videos, are in the media training kitchen. So in some ways, this is like inherent in me. Our kitchen, growing up, we would have like studio lights, and that's where Lisa and Lou would do media training. And so I got to witness the best and hopefully absorb a little bit along the way.
okay. Well, Randy is back with another
Oh, oh,
question.
great.
So
Let's close it out with it.
she apologized. She says, I got on late.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
th I'm thinking about writing a cookbook. Can you offer some advice when starting off?
Yeah, my advice would be to check out that post that I have called Where to Begin. And I'm going to send Dara everything so that you can post it in the comments. It'll outline from a culinary perspective, here's some organizations that are really great to get involved with. And then also in the proposal, looking at comps. That's usually my go-to for to where to get it all started.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Randy, thanks for joining
Yeah,
in.
thank you so much for joining.
Connect with Lisa. Send my regards to your mom
I will.
and to good health. And
Same.
hopefully our paths will cross soon. Thank you
I
for
hope so.
joining us,
Thanks,
Sally.
Sarah.
All right, everyone. Be sure to tune in next week when our guest will be Becky the Burrell Diamond. I don't know how to pronounce the middle name, and I probably butchered it. She's a food writer, research historian, author, librarian who has been writing about food since 2008, parlaying her passion for food and history into numerous books. Her latest is City Tavern, The Founding Table, Colonial Dining, Revolutionary History, and the Restaurant at the Center of It All. Other publications by Becky is The Gilded Age Cookbook, The $1,000 Dinner, Mrs. Goodfellow, The Story of America's First Cooking School. If you need to reach me, you can find me on Instagram at Dara Cooks. On Facebook, I have a page called The Food Enthusiast. Feel free to go back into our show's archives on jmoreliving.com's page. You'll see a food in the menu. Click on that, and the Food Enthusiast column is there. And all 290 some shows are up there. And feel free to share the show with friends and family. We, appreciate the show's growth, and that depends on you if you share. Thank you again for tuning in. We truly appreciate it when you share our show, as I just said, with friends and family. May your plates always